say that we're given a bad name so that we can be hung. We're always saying that we're vilified in the press as the most corrupt, most inept, most useless arm of government. But Mr. Speaker, this takes it to a totally different level. We are now under physical attack. Of course, it was said that it was done in Gestapo style. So, Mr. Speaker, sir, we must also come to the realization that whoever did it were not a bunch of ragtag thugs. There were people who were trained to do that which they have done. My concern is that even in spite of the fact that we speak about the lapses in our security, and we say that the sergeant at arms were not up to their billing, could they have actually encountered these people? Do they have the training, the expertise to encounter these type of people? Mr. Speaker, I think that as we speak about what happened today in the Senate, I also want us to realize that over time, our institutions are being eroded, physically attacked. We're sitting ducks, as the leader said. But more than that, our democracy is under attack. More than that, most members of the National Assembly go to their constituencies, and because of the sentiments that have been whipped up in the press, they're stoned, they're attacked. In the press, we are the most vilified. I believe that we must, as a parliament, start to engage more, create some kind of awareness, and to tell Nigerians in the starkest of ways that if we lose our National Assembly, we lose our democracy. That if this institution is rubbished, the freedom to gather at Eagle Square, the freedom to gather at Unity Fountain, the freedom to speak out when our rights have been infringed upon, the freedom to make the choices of who leads us has been yanked away from our hands. We go back to what has been called the dark days of dictatorships. Mr. Speaker, my dear colleagues, I think the time has come for Nigerians, for me to implore Nigerians, that everywhere in the world it is said that people do not like the legislature, but they like their legislators because of what they represent. I think the time has come for us to start to realize that in spite of the stories out there about the National Assembly and all our crimes and all our sins, even in the face of evidence that the other arms of government are more corrupt than the National Assembly. Every time they say to us that the National Assembly is the problem of this country, and yet, when there was the fuel scarcity and so on and so forth, everybody said, had the National Assembly been in session, this would never have happened. We stand by and for the Nigerian people on a daily basis. Every day we talk about motions about people who have been killed. Every time there's a disagreement on this floor, it's not about personal issues, it's about our constituents and about the country. I think that Nigerians must start to give us the pride of place that we have. That we are the people that hold up this democracy. Nigerians should for 1 minute imagine what Nigeria would be without the people gathering here to speak their voices. And if we support anybody, under any guise, in any way, to take away those freedoms, the National Assembly would have lost probably jobs, but the Nigerian people would lose even more their freedom, their ability to choose, their ability to gather, their ability to say this is wrong, and they will not have voices that say it for them. My dear colleagues, for me, this is a very sad day, and I hope that we all go back to our constituents and tell them about the gains of having this institution. Thank you.
Honorable Toby.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honorable colleagues, my name is Toby Okechukwu. I represent an area of Wajiri Federal Constituency. I'm from Enugu State. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, the legislature symbolizes the presence of democracy in any nation. The absence of the legislature presupposes that there is no democracy, and that is what has always happened in our history. And it is when you don't have a midfielder in a team that you may not recognize the presence of a midfielder. But when you remove him, you find out that a team is a basket case. And when you remove the legislature, you find out that what you have is tyranny. And today, this institution is under attack, particularly with regard to what happened in the Senate. Mr. Speaker, your leadership and that of the leader, and taking us to the Senate, symbolizes and signifies a lot. The measure of a man is not measured at the time of comfort. It is at the time of difficulty. And for this House of Representatives to move there to show our solidarity at this particular point in time is significant. It was Wole Soyinka who, in The Man Died, said the man dies in him who keeps quiet, who keeps silent in the face of tyranny. At this moment, we cannot tolerate it. It will not work, not here, not anymore in Nigeria, because we are firmly resolved that our democracy must be on the ascendancy. Whatever institutions that are under attack, anybody who comes here is making a mistake, because we are firmly resolved to make sure not only that we deliver dividends of democracy to our people, we make sure that our voices are heard. The minority will always have their say, but the majority of Nigerians must have their way. And that is what our democracy is all about. So, Mr. Speaker, crime is committed either by commission or omission. And if for any reason anybody comes here and fails to do his duty, it is a crime. If anybody voluntarily conspires to dismantle the authority of this assembly, which is the mace, is a huge mistake. And what has happened is an attempt to subvert the legislature and our democracy. And for me, it is treason. It is treason. And our books have punishment for such effort. Mr. Speaker, when you led us to the Senate, we were further briefed and better briefed that two senators were to be kidnapped. So they were not even ashamed that they were coming to take this thing. They were serially breaching the law. Not only taking the mace, committing treason, but they were attempting to kidnap senators of the Federal Republic. Mr. Speaker, in the chamber, and the Senate is supposed to be on live coverage today, it is impunity and crime that should not be tolerated here. Mr. Speaker, I believe strongly that these are early days. It will soon unravel. But whoever orchestrated this, whether a senator or thugs, there is nothing distinguished about it. The person must go into the house of infamy. And we stand firmly with you and with the Senate and with the authority of the symbol of the house, which is the mace. So, Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, I believe that this discretion, the secretion of our hollow chambers, we need to go back and do some housekeeping in terms of our security. I was in the U.S. Congress. I was on one of the official delegates to visit that parliament. When we were there, each door you open has a security check. You have a card that gives you access. Mr. Speaker, that yesterday I was driving into this assembly, and somebody was driving, and our security man tried to check him. What did he do? He came out from his car, a driver. After hitting the security man, he came up with a chair and wanted to, and was hitting the security man. And this is the kind of impunity we tolerate here. And for somebody, no matter how orchestrated, to come into this chamber to come into this assembly and take away our mess, our authority, and at the same time, serially wanting to kidnap 2 senators. We cannot tolerate it. So I think the leader's motion is in all force. We are in harmony with it, and it must have to be carried. We are condemning the attack, and we must, as a matter of fact, see to the end. I so support.
Professor Majid.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm Professor Majid Alabi. I represent the North, the South, Egbedore, and the Jigbo Federal Constituency. And I'm from the state of Osun. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, today should ordinarily be a day of mourning for all lovers of democracy, whether in Nigeria, any part of Africa, or anywhere in the world. Because we've had cases of invasion of parliament in the 18th and the 19th century, before the parliament got stabilized, up to the 20th century. We've had cases of members having problems among themselves and some members making for the maze. But Mr. Speaker, this is the first time that I will be hearing of an external individual coming into an hollowed chamber of any parliamentary house to forcefully take the maze. So easily come and so easily go. It calls for certain reflection. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleague, it should call for a reminder to all of us. Because I've been seriously under attack, because of my own background. As at last week, somebody was still arguing with me online about the relevance or otherwise of our being here. We should stand it that when we say we want democracy, we are saying in essence that we want representative institutions. Because without the parliament, Mr. Speaker, there can be no democracy. And our constitution recognizes that. Section 1, subsection 2 of the constitution prevents the taking over of government of Nigeria other than in accordance with the provisions of the constitution. And the constitution does not stay there. It makes the law we make here to be supreme. So if anybody feels silencing the parliament is his own way of carrying forth the animosity that exists against the Nigerian parliament, that person should resolve within himself or herself that he or she does not want democracy. Mr. Speaker, we cannot say there are no such people. Of course, there may be people. But I know that majority of Nigerians want democracy. But they are misinformed by people of means. They were misinformed by people who control the means of mass communication to begin to see the parliament, rather than being their friend, as their tormentors, which is not the case. If Nigerians are having the doubt before, today should tell them that there is no doubt about the fact that some people are hell-bent about truncating our democracy. And luckily, there are provisions under the Constitution, there are provisions under the law for dealing with such matters. Our Constitution also provides for that unauthorized individual, that is the language of the Constitution, cannot even come to sit here. That is why when unauthorized people want to come, we needed to move a motion to suspend our rules to allow them. not to talk of an unauthorized individual who is not only coming, but also in group, not only in group, but with instruments that they can use to harm not only the parliament, but individual members of the parliament. The Legislative Houses Powers and Privileges Act also provide the offenses and the sanction that go with it. This is where our responsibility lies. As individual members of this house, as lovers of democracy outside there, we should all see to the logical conclusion of this. Apart from the resolution that we passed by the house, we should all become vigilant in ensuring that whoever is found culpable should be treated as somebody who has engaged in treason. Unfortunately, in Nigeria, we have a disjointed perception of what they call treason. We believe treason is only when you remove the president. Of course, because we have had a past of militarism. When you remove the head of state, people say it is treason. But in a democracy, when you take any attempt to subjugate the power of the parliament, it is as treasonable as invading the villa. And therefore, we should treat it as a failed coup d'etat. And we know the implication of the failed coup d'etat. And I know our legal luminary can deep inside our various statute books to find appropriate sanctions to give to those people. As members of this house and as leaders, I also have message for you. This National Assembly is too porous. If somebody could have the goal to invade the chamber, what stopped me from invading my office? Mr. Speaker, the leadership of the House, honorable colleague, we should overhaul the totality of the security of the House, including the office of the Sergeant at Arms. Perhaps we don't know what brought Sergeant at Arms. The institution of Sergeant at Arms originated by the fact that Parliament detests the use of guns. It was to prevent people with guns from coming to secure Parliament that the office of Sergeant at Arms was created. So if arms could now come in freely, Mr. Speaker, honorable colleague, we need to rise to make sure that we not only protect our democracy, we also protect each and every senator and honorable members of this house. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, honorable colleague.
From this column, Madaki, Karimis, Saleh, and Henry Wabuba.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, my honorable colleagues. My name is Ali Usani Madaki, and I represent the Ala Federal Constituency of Kano State. Mr. Speaker, my honorable colleagues, what happens today was an assault on democracy. What happens today is really very, very sad, Mr. Speaker, to say the least. A situation where armed bandits will be allowed to have access into the chamber of the Senate of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. I don't know what to compare it with. This democracy is built on three pillars: the executive, the legislature, and the judiciary. One of the pillars, and a very strong one at that, is under assault as we speak. We are a country governed by law that has a constitution, and all of us have been saying it. I like reminding my honorable colleagues here. We swore to an oath to preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Mr. Speaker, my honorable colleagues, Section 14, 2B of the Constitution says the primary responsibility of government is the protection of life and property. As we speak in Nigeria today, nobody is secured. And today, we have come to the cross of the matter. The National Assembly is under assault by armed thugs who came in with guns and took the mayor's of the Senate. And they have gone, and nobody has seen them. What do you call that? Mr. Speaker, I want to remind us to the saying of a Reverend pastor, a Protestant pastor in Germany, Muller, who said, and I quote, "They first came for the socialists. I did not talk because I was not a socialist. Then they came for the trade unionists. I did not talk because I was not a trade unionist. Then they came for the Jews, and I did not talk because I was not a Jew. When they came for me, there was no one left to speak for me." Mr. Speaker, I don't want us to allow a situation where when issues came into our individual houses, that is when we will remember provision of Section 14(2)(b). We have the power in this house to compel the government to sit up with its responsibility of providing security of life and property. I like giving example to what I know very personal. Mr. Speaker, as we speak, I'm from Kano State. I'm a Dalaman. I cannot drive my car today from Abuja to Kano with my eyes closed. The moment I start, I have my tasbih in my hand, praying that I reaches Kano safely, because there is no peace anywhere in Nigeria. This government, our government, came on the promise of providing security. There is no security as we speak anywhere in Nigeria.
Please,
Anywhere.
silence, please.
I went to Kano recently. A boy was in his car driving inside Kano city in Nasarawa, very close to the government house, to the governor of Kano's house. A boy, some people on bike came and knocked his window and shoot into the car. The guy ran. Luckily for me, he found himself inside my house. He doesn't know where he was. That is what is happening. I'm giving an example to Kano, where I know. That is what is happening everywhere in Nigeria. In Benue, in Zamfara, in Jos, everywhere. Why? As an institution, what are we doing about it? This constitution gave us oversight power over everybody. But the constitution is being abused daily. We should stand up and stand on our oath to see that there is peace, there is justice, there is unity in Nigeria.
Impeachment.
Thank you very much.
Impeachment.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My colleagues, my name is Karimi Sunday. I'm from Kogi State. I represent Yagba West, Yagba East, Mopamuru Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, thank you for allowing me to lend my voice on this motion. Mr. Speaker, my colleague, the primary responsibility of any government is the security of life and properties of the citizen. Today, some group of thugs or professionals, they passed through the first gate, passed through the second gate, passed through the security checkpoint there, went into the chambers of the Senate. They attempted kidnapping two senators, and they successfully went away with the mail. That incident is not ordinary. Just like my colleague called it, it was a failed coup d'etat. And when you are planning a coup, you don't plan it ordinarily. You have to work with security apparatus. And all that is happening and all that has happened today is not different from what is happening in the society in Nigeria today. My colleague just sat down now. You hear of war and rumors of war all over Nigeria. Kidnapping, armed bandits, herdsmen attack, cattle rustling in all states of the Federation. Things are falling apart. The center cannot hold. Mere anarchy is on the rule. Who will save Nigeria from the situation we find ourselves? We have a responsibility to this nation. My colleagues, we need to speak out. We cannot allow Nigeria to disintegrate. We have to take the bull by the horn. And any attempt to silence the parliament is an attempt to silence democracy in this land. And we must all stand up and fight for democracy. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for leading us aright and taking the decision that we should go to the Senate chamber. We know you are a lover of democracy, and we must all come together to defend democracy in this land. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues. I'm Hassan Saleh from Benue, representing the very good people of Ado, Obadibo, Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, I thank you for yielding the floor to me at this time. And I also want to thank you for taking the bold step of leading us from this chamber in solidarity to the Senate in solidarity with them. Mr. Speaker, before I move on, I'll seek your permission to quote certain aspects of our Constitution, if you so permit, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, in the introduction of the Constitution, if you permit, it says, we the people of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, having firmly and solemnly resolved to live in unity and harmony as one indivisible and indissoluble sovereign nation, under God, dedicated to the promotion of inter-African solidarity, world peace, and international cooperation and understanding, and to provide for a constitution for the purpose of promoting the good government and welfare of persons in our country on the principles of freedom, equality, and justice, and for the purpose of consolidating the unity of our people. Mr. Speaker, I would like to also rush to section 14A, where it states, sovereignty belongs to the people of Nigeria, from whom government through this constitution derives all its powers and authority. Mr. Speaker, the Constitution or the legislature is an embodiment of this Constitution. Mr. Speaker, I rise to support all the debates before me. Mr. Speaker, just yesterday, the honorable member from Chibok called our attention to the 4th year of the adoption of the Chibok girls. Mr. Speaker, I want you to take note that from the very first day of this year, 1st of January, there hasn't been any week that the issue of security is not on the front burner of our national discourse. From Benue to Taraba, from Taraba to Nasarawa, from Nasarawa to Borno, to everywhere, security problems. There has not been any session or any plenary session since the beginning of this year that we've not talked about security. Mr. Speaker, I said the last time, we must always action our words. We are becoming a talk shop. We come here, we talk. Some people are even afraid of their seats or of losing their seats, and they cannot stand up to the truth. Mr. Speaker, In the 7th Assembly, we had Committee on Internal Security chaired by Honorable Aliu Gebi. We tried as much as we can to sanitize the movement of visitors into this National Assembly. To a great extent, that committee did their best. What happened in this 8th Assembly? Why did we discard that committee? Mr. Speaker, I also agree with the leader of this House. You walk on the corridor of this National Assembly, you have beggars. It's unfortunate that our country is reduced to where people will beg for food or beg to live. But it shouldn't be tolerated in this assembly.
Honorable Ninos, Madaki, please. Mohammed Gololo.
Honorable Speaker, honorable colleagues, whether we like it or not, the country is failing. I have said it before and I'm making bold to say it today. The government of the day has failed its people. And we too will be held culpable if we do not do anything about it. We cannot continue day in, day out. We sit here, we move motion, we resolve and all of that. Nothing happens. Then we come back again and begin to talk. Nobody will take us seriously. I witnessed what happened today.
Chairman House Offices, sorry, Chairman House Offices. Please, you come back to your seat. Because the issue at hand is going to dovetail into the House Offices Committee. Because the security part of this House is being merged with the House Offices. So we are not going to take a resolution behind you. It's an important matter.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues. As I was saying, we, the members of the House of Representatives, we, the members of the National Assembly, we must be bold. Mr. Speaker, I don't mind losing this seat as far as it will satisfy the yearning of my people. Mr. Speaker, about 2 or 3 weeks ago, General T.Y. Danjuma, a nationalist, a war hero, an embodiment of the person that you to who you can refer to as a Nigerian, a true Nigerian, made a statement. And certain sections of this country were up in arms condemning his comments. But majority of Nigerians supported what he said. That time has come for us to get up and begin to defend ourselves. Just yesterday or 2 days ago, the Senate resolved that all security chiefs should be fired. It's not as if they are joking. What we have in our hands today, Mr. Speaker, is failure in government. The country is sliding into a... There's no difference between us and a banana republic. And the management of the National Assembly must also be held responsible for what has happened today. We don't care whether it is backed by some people from outside. It is their function to provide security in this house. So, in concluding, Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, we must ensure that this investigation is going to be all-encompassing. We must take action. We must action whatever we are resolving today. I also would like to close by asking this House to resolve that maize that they took away must be returned. IG must be instructed to return that maize within 24 hours. It is important because we are representing 180,000 or 80 million people. Not the IG, not the president can say he is more representative than us. We must make that bold move. If it means stalling all the activities of government to ensure compliance, we should go ahead and do so.
Thank you very much, Honorable Henry Wabuba. Then from there, please, I will implore members to please try as much as possible to compress whatever they want to say within 2 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honorable Henry Nwauba, and I represent the enterprising people of Mbitolu Ikeduru Federal Constituency, Imo State. Mr. Speaker, thank you for yielding the microphone to me. I intend to confine my contributions to less than the allocated time of 2 minutes. A lot has been said so far on the security breach that has happened today. But Mr. Speaker and my dear honorable colleagues, I'd like to draw our attention and dwell for a minute on the security of the National Assembly.
Honorable
Mr.
Sharif,
Speaker
Honorable
and my
Jobe,
dear colleagues,
Honorable Jobe, Honorable Sharif, please. Jobe, resume your seat.
I have had the privilege
Honorable Woodil, please resume your seat.
of visiting the Parliament in South Africa when a delegation was sent from the National Assembly on the xenophobic attacks in South Africa. I've also had the privilege of visiting the Parliament in California, the state of California in Sacramento. And I must tell you, sir, there is serious crowd within the complex of the National Assembly. Sometimes, honorable colleagues, I will be in my office making documentation for visitors to be allowed to come into my office. And while the documentation is still going on, the person will show up live in front of my desk. Sometimes you see beggars right on the streets or the corridors of the National Assembly. We have no access control, no security checks at the gates, nothing securing us.
Order, honorable members, please.
Just as we were walking into the chambers of the Senate just now, I couldn't help but observe the crowd that just lined up the corridors, and even on the first and the second floor on the balconies. This is not the way to feel safe and secure. I must confess, I sometimes feel completely exposed right within the confines of the National Assembly. So it is okay for us to say there's been an attack, yes. It's okay for us to say it's a failed coup, yes. But we must call a spade and beef up the security within the National Assembly. I think there's just too many people that have access, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And you know, there's a Yoruba proverb that says, all lizards lie prostrate. It is very difficult to know the one that is suffering from belly ache. You cannot know who has come into the National Assembly with good intentions or bad intentions. So as we go into the resolutions of this motion, it is my prayer that we include that the committee should review and completely overhaul the security systems that we have today in the National Assembly. I so submit. Thank you.
Thank you very much. In this particular order, because we have spent so much time on this, although very important, but we have spent so much time on it. In this order, I will lastly take these 4 people. Honorable Aman Pateki, then I will come here, Atua, Honorable Atua, then it will be rounded up by OKJF and MT Moguno. Please try as much as possible not to go beyond the limit of 2 minutes, please.
My brother, Mr. Speaker, I want to rise by condemning the attack on the National Assembly. And I have a different perspective on what happened. I don't want to believe that it is talks that came into the chamber, into the Senate chamber, to accost senators, try to kidnap 2 senators, and make away with the maize. It cannot be talks. We are situated in what is called the 3-arm zone, the most secure part of Nigeria. If really they were talks, they came in through several security checkpoints and went out through several security checkpoints. Certainly, these people are not. This is a planned work, and I make bold to say that there are 5th columnists amongst the National Assembly members. And it is done in conjunction with the security arm of the Nigerian government. It is impossible for anybody to tell me that somebody went into the villa to steal the trinkets of the president's wife. And they will expect me to believe it, and they say those people are ordinary thugs. That is what has happened to us. Look at this table. The entire laws of the Federation of Nigeria are there. We make laws. Somebody came in, several security points, doors were opened, and then took the maze, walked away, attempted to go with 2 senators, and we say they are thugs. They are not thugs. And this is a pattern with this administration. A lot of times when I stand up to talk, even myself, I'm unable to believe that I talk the way I do. I'm beginning to sound like an opposition member of this government. Because everything is wrong. If the truth is to be spoken, and this is a pattern, my children are always unhappy with me. When we exchange views about Nigeria, and they say, Daddy, but you are the one that has oversight over executive bodies. What are you doing? This is the problem. We only yesterday, the Senate passed a resolution inviting the Minister of Finance, the Central Bank Governor, to find out why did you go and withdraw $465 million without the authority of the Parliament. Only yesterday, this government, this administration in the last 3 years has been doing what they like without constitutional guidance. Only yesterday, our colleague from Kogi, Honorable Karimi, reminded us about how this government has gone ahead to spend 1.4 trillion naira subsidy payment without telling anybody. They refuse to own up to it. That is the kind of government that we are having today. Only last week, we all saw what we said happened in Ofa, where kids took over a local government headquarters for 1.5 hours. So why are we surprised? This has been happening. We have had instances where, as a parliament, we refuse to stand with the state assemblies. When 5 members of a state assembly will impeach a governor and several other infractions. We refuse to stand with the judiciary as an arm of government. When 1 p.m. or 1 a.m. in the morning, the hours of night, they went, the DSS, security arm of the Nigerian government, went and broke down their door with axes. And we sat here, we did nothing. We have had instances when we refused to solidarize with the judiciary. Mr. Speaker, I'm very proud of you. We spoke to you and the leader as well, that we must go and visit the chambers now and right now. It must not be after we've adjourned. And you led us to that chamber. I was proud because you gave a fantastic speech, the essence of democracy. And we are all very happy that this solidarity was done immediately because it required immediate attention. Thank you for making us proud. But before I sit down, the pattern that I said I've noticed is where ministers have turned themselves into the National Executive Council. The other day we said has become an appropriation body. We have the Act of Bureau of Public Procurement. What we were accusing them before was that they refused to establish the Act. They turned themselves into contract awarding body. Beyond that, they move further now to an appropriation body. Because when a minister brings a memo and says that consultants should be appointed, and when consultants are appointed, they should be paid a fee, and that fee is unknown to Parliament. The day you sign out government money and it is paid, you have appropriated money. and the highest body in the land is the one doing it in the executive. Equally, a lot of the ministers of this republic have refused to come under legislative oversight of this parliament. When summons are made, they don't appear. When letters are written for submissions, they don't submit anything. This is what is facing this parliament. And I must say that the way they've taken over the power of the spending power from us, which is why we cannot implement our budget. Because when one item, 1.4 trillion, is being spent, and our budget is 2.6 trillion capital, then where are they going to find the money to make good their promise that they will implement the budget by paying for goods and services?
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Aman. Aman, thank you very much. Atua.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I am Razak Atunwa, representing ASA, Ilorin West Federal Constituency of Kwara State. Mr. Speaker, I am flabbergasted, I am flummoxed, I am nonplussed, and indeed, Mr. Speaker, I am discombobulated. Mr. Speaker, I shan't take the 2 minutes allocated to me. I should take less than that. First of all, I join the senators and honorable members of this House in empathy with this institution called the National Assembly. I will take off and land from where Honorable Ali Aman Patigi seemed to have started. Mr. Speaker, the attack on the Senate, the attack on the National Assembly today was not opportunist. That attack was a premeditated attack. That attack was a concerted attack. It was a sophisticated and complex operation executed with utter professionalism. Mr. Speaker, for people to invade the hallowed chamber, the inviolable chamber of the Senate, would have taken a great deal of preparation. Mr. Speaker, wherein, whither the security apparatus, rather than chasing Senator Dino Melaye all around the place for some fictitious crime, rather than chasing perceived political enemies, I think the security apparatus ought to have been concentrating their mind in protecting each and every Nigerian in this country. For them to walk and traverse from the high level all the way to the maze uninterrupted means it was executed as a heist. Mr. Speaker, some people somewhere would have gathered not once, not twice, but many times over the past few days to hatch this conspiracy to seize the maze. And I dare say, when they invaded armed. I asked the question, as a man who's practiced in criminal law for decades, I asked the question, why would they be armed? They came armed, Mr. Speaker, because they were intending to cause maximum damage to anyone who impeded them. And further, Mr. Speaker, it may well be that they had a target. It may well be that if the Senate President was seated, he may have there and then been assassinated. Because you don't go armed just to carry a mess. You could have gone unarmed in numbers to carry the mace, but you went armed because obviously you had a target in mind. Mr. Speaker, I venture to say that they would have hatched that plan over a few days, yet our DSS, our so-called state security services, are completely oblivious to this conspiracy that had been going on over the past few days. They have no intelligence. The only intelligence they seem to have is intelligence of political enemies. Intelligence that deals with politics and trying to incarcerate those who they don't like. Mr. Speaker, it bodes very ill for us that armed people can invade the institution of democracy And on that note, Mr. Speaker, I think we ought to call our government, the government of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, to serious attention and hold them responsible. Thank you.
Honorable Femi Fake.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My name is Femi Fake. I am from the state of Osun. I represent the people of Ifedayo, Oduadro, and the Life Federal Constituency. I will not repeat what all our colleagues have said, except to draw our attention to this event today being a negative milestone. God forbid, but it looks like that to me, because people have spoken about the porosity of this complex. I've always been worried about people knocking on my doors, coming to beg for alms, and I always wonder, how did they even enter here? I am worried when I pass through the gates and I hear security men, happy weekends, a happy weekend. In Nigerian parlance, we all know the translation. And I said to myself, how secure are we here? If all I have to do is grease some palm in the name of happy weekend and have easy passage. So we need, like others have said, a complete overhaul of our security apparatus. Oftentimes, Mr. Speaker, we leave these chambers or you go through there, you see the lobby full of people. I'm wondering, who the heck are they? What do they want here? Yes, it is the house of the people, but it makes a joke of this green button given to me. Because I had thought that this thing conveyed upon me some privilege about access and movement within these premises. But I don't see it, because there are so many human beings that don't hang this button and they move unimpeded everywhere. I think we should just take today as a wake-up call for everybody, because we don't do any checking. We don't drive in, drive out, walk in, walk out. The other day, the leader was making a point here. In making a contribution, he said, even the press corps, we should have to know who is whom among them, so that we can be secured here. We thank God today that at least it wasn't fatal. They have not been able to bring down anybody. But can we swear that this thing will not happen again, and that if it were to happen, it will not be more difficult? So the leadership in both chambers should put heads together and see how to get a very workable and effective security apparatus in place. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Okay, Jeff. Then finally, MT Mogulo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Okay, Jeff. I represent the good people of Buruku, my dear colleagues. I'm from Benue State. Mr. Speaker, I too stand to support the motion that was brought today by the House leader. Mr. Speaker, I smell a big rat here, but I'll come to the issue of rat smelling shortly. Let me start with the criminality that has taken place. Mr. Speaker, unfortunately, if you look at the Legislative Houses Powers and Privileges Act in Section 16, what it does is to criminalize an incident like this. But what is the punishment? It says 100 naira if you are convicted, a fine of 100 naira, or imprisonment of 6 months. That is that. Of course, the criminal code and the penal code provide punishment on other aspects of the criminality that has taken place, attempted kidnapping and all of the rest. But I said I smell a rat. And I agree with Honorable Pateki when he said that there's a big time conspiracy that went on today. Incidentally, I don't know whether any other person noticed that, but when I was coming in, I noticed an unusually high number of policemen at the first gate and at the second gate. Unusually high number. Without counting, I know that those ones at the first gate would have been more than 50. And then the ones at the inner gate here. And then I was asking myself, how could this have happened? That somebody will walk through all of that, go right inside the chambers when they are having live coverage. That bravado is unprecedented, because you know you are going to be covered live. and yet they came in while that was happening and did that and went out in this age of ICT, and nobody phoned either of the gates to stop those criminals getting out. I think this has to be investigated. It's not something that happens every day. This is not ordinary, and I reject the comparison with going to the villa to see the president's wife's trinket, because there you must have stolen and hidden somewhere. Here we have somebody doing every of it live on camera, and yet they went out. So this calls for much more. This for me is much bigger than we are thinking if we investigate it. I agree with Pateki that there's collaboration from the security agencies. If that could happen, because I'm sure somebody made attempts, because as we speak, I understand the one or two of the sergeant at arms may be in hospital, because they were captured. Nita was just showing me one of the pictures as the sergeant at arms was struggling with the mess. So every of it was captured, and so somebody to do that, knowing that his images will be captured live, is not ordinary. So in my opinion, this is something that we should get to the root of it and try to find a solution so that tomorrow we don't come discussing this kind of thing. If you remember last Thursday, when we were contributing on the issue at OFA, I said that now Nigerians are insecure. The security people are insecure themselves, because when you go into a police station and mow down 7 policemen, everybody that was found in that police station was mowed down, killed. I said that the legislators are now afraid to go to their constituencies. Today they have taken the war to the National Assembly itself. That is to tell us that nobody is safe. It's serious. It's an attack on democracy, like has been argued before, and we should really get to the root of this matter. Thank you.
MT Moguno.
Honorable Speaker, honorable members, my name is Mohamed Tari Monguno. I represent Marte Monguno, Ganzai Federal Constituency of Borno State. Mr. Speaker, honorable members, I want to place the incident that happened today within the overall security architecture of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Mr. Speaker, honorable members, there is avalanche of this type of incidences across the nooks and crannies of this country. We have Boko Haram in the northeast, which recently culminated in the kidnapping of the Dapchi girls. We have the Opa incidents. We have the series of headsmen farmers clashes across the nooks and crannies of this country. So the totality of these incidents points to the fact that Nigeria is displaying the symptoms and indices of sliding to being a failed state. That is the only conclusion that one can derive from these incidents. And the only financial to that is to completely overhaul our security architecture so that they can respond to the yearnings and aspirations of Nigerians. Because, as we always kept on saying, the primary responsibility of any government is to protect the lives and property of the citizenry. Any government that fails and/or neglects to discharge that sacred responsibility, that government ab initio is not supposed to last a minute longer than absolutely necessary, because that is the responsibility of government. And that is why the people entered into a social contract with the leaders so that they can be protected. And if that sacred responsibility cannot be discharged, then such a state is a failed state. If the people that attacked the National Assembly or the Senate today came in a commando style that we only will see in James Bond movies, and then carry away the mess, then nowhere is safe. And Nigeria is sliding towards a failed state
and there is a need for us to completely overhaul our security architecture to respond to the yearnings and aspirations of Nigerians in tandem with the primary responsibility of government of protecting lives and property of the people. Thank you.
Thank you very much, honorable colleagues. Please, honorable colleagues, can you take your seat? Resume your seats. Honorable Atuwa, honorable Bago. Thank you very much for the contributions.
Order.
We have so many amendments, but let me first of all guide us. Let me first of all guide us by referring us to our standing rules, specifically at page 103 under the functions of the House services. If you go to Committee on House Services,
please, members, please.
4242H, studying the internal security policy of the House of Representatives and the National Assembly and advising same. That's the first function under security. The other one is designing and implementing preemptive measures on security of the precinct of the House of Representatives and periodically alerting on perceived threats to security. The third one that is related to security is liaising with the clerk to the National Assembly to ensure that the security of the National Assembly complex in Abuja and other real and movable properties of the National Assembly. So, the security of the National Assembly is well encapsulated in parts of the functions of the House services. So, having regard to this, I do not think that amendments on ad hoc committee, on setting up of ad hoc committee, will be required at this instance. That's my first interjection. The second one is that since this incident happened at the Senate, and they have the power too to constitute committee, why don't we wait for the outcome of their own committee and see if there are areas where we have to do concurrence and make statements? And so, because of those two reasons, I feel that it will not be necessary to begin to talk about committee and investigation. So I would rather want to take one of the amendments that is asking for us to condemn in totality. That is appropriate. So I will ask Honorable Bodai Oride to move his amendment that we should condemn in totality what happened at the Senate this morning.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm Dr. Bodai Oride. I represent Owo Federal Constituency. I'm from Ondo State. I rise to move, Honorable Speaker, Honorable colleagues, that we do condemn in totality what happened in the Senate chambers today. It is absurd. It is an assault on democracy. It is unwarranted. I so move.
Any seconder, Diri Doye.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker, Honorable colleagues. My name is Diri Doye, representing Yenagua, Kolokuma, Upokuma Federal Constituency of Bayelsa State. I second the amendment ably moved by my colleague, Honorable Bodai. I so second.
Those in favor of that amendment say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. The next important amendment that I think is important now is the ultimatum we want to pass on the security agencies. And that should be moved by Honorable Solomon Mare. Engineer Solomon Mare.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, my dear colleagues. Engineer Solomon Mare is my name, and I represent the very good people of Mangubo Federal Constituency. I am from Plateau State. Mr. Speaker, I move that we urge the security agencies to recover this mess within 24 hours. And I also move that there should be a change of guard in the National Assembly with immediate effect.
We are going to take the first part of your motion that the mail should be recovered within 24 hours. Honorable Isaka Ibrahim, second that.
Thank you very much, the Right Honorable Speaker. Honorable Ibrahim Ayokunle Isaka is my name. I represent the very good people of Ifo, Ewekoro Federal Constituency. I'm from Ogun State, Mr. Speaker, distinguished honorable colleagues. I rise, Mr. Speaker, to second the motion ably moved by my honorable colleague, Honorable Solomon Maran. I so second, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, sir.
Honorable Shagari, what's your point of order?
Yes, sir. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I'm just trying to make the point that we took a joint resolution with the Senate on the return of the maize within 24 hours. So I don't think it's appropriate for us to move another, to have another resolution here. At the Senate, the Senate President, we moved a joint resolution, which is stronger than the one we'll take here. So I think...
Honorable Shagari, that's not a properly constituted joint sitting. It was a separate sitting, we just visited them. So let's move our motion so that we reinforce what we agree on there. It was not a joint sitting. It was not a joint sitting. So those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor of the motion as amended say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Honorable Oni, your point of order? I don't have point of order. I thought you wanted to come on that matter of urgent public importance, and you have waived that right. Honorable colleagues, the first order of the day, the first business of the day is a motion to receive and adopt the returns from the state's houses of assembly on the Constitution Alteration Bill 2018, standing in the name of Honorable Sulaiman Lasun Yusuf, which incidentally is going to be taken by the leader of the House, is the deputy chairman of the committee, and I invite the leader of the House to move the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, before I proceed to move the motion, there's an observation I'd like to make, which is the third, I believe the fourth paragraph when you flip the page. The 35 states assembly returned their resolutions. And they were listed. I conspicuously noted that Lagos State was not listed. I was not afforded the opportunity to make inquiries. I just saw this now, and I believe they had acted upon it. They must have transmitted. Perhaps it was lost in transmission. I do not know, but I want it to be on record, so that, because this is very important, so that Lagos State will duly be acknowledged to have participated in the constitutional amendment and also approved the amendments that were made. I don't know if these records can...
Leader, let it be on record too that, Atuma, please, let it be on record too that the day they return this particular document, there was a formal ceremony of the speakers of the Houses of Assembly, attended by the Senate President, the Speaker of the House of Representatives, and my humble self. It was a proper ceremony. And it was right there said by this coordinating speaker of the speakers that Lagos did not take part in the voting of the alteration of the Constitution. So let it be on record too, that it was even related to us right there that in this exercise, Lagos State House of Assembly did not take part.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want it to be on further record, Mr. Speaker, that Lagos State, and I speak for Lagos, took part in the resolution. And also, Mr. Speaker, if you are aware, one of our major outings was in Lagos State, where the governor was fully represented, they fully supported this activity. And also, Mr. Speaker, I believe for something so important, the constitutional provision of fair hearing should also have been adopted, not just hearing from one party, but also being afforded the opportunity,
Lagos State, where is your resolution? Did you take part or did you not take part? But having said that, Mr. Speaker, I'm ready to move the motion. Adoption of returns from the State Houses of Assembly on the Constitutional Alteration Bill 2018. The House, aware of the provisions of Section 9 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria 1999 as amended on the procedure of constitutional alteration.
Silence, please. Please, honorable members, let us listen in silence, please.
Also aware that 33 bills seeking to alter various provisions of the Constitution were presented at the Senate and the House of Representatives on Wednesday, 26 July and Thursday, 27 July 2017, respectively, recalls that the Senate had passed 29 bills with a required two-thirds majority of members, while the House of Representatives had passed 21 bills with the required two-thirds majority of members. Notes that the two houses passed 15 of the bills without any difference and have since transmitted the same to the State House of Assembly for their resolution, while 4 of the bills were passed with differences and have committed to a conference committee for further legislative action. Acknowledges that 35 State Houses of Assembly, Abia, Adamawa, Akwa Ibom, Anambra, Bayelsa, Bauchi, Benue, Borno, Cross River, Delta, Ebonyi, Edo, Ekiti, Enugu, Gombe, Imo, Jigawa, Kaduna, Kano, Katsina, Kebbi, Kogi, Kwara, Nasarawa, Niger, Ogun, Ondo, Osun, Oyo, Plateau, Rivers, Sokoto, Taraba, Yobe, and Zamfara have forwarded their resolutions on the bills transmitted to them, convinced that the following constitutional alteration bills have satisfied the provisions of Section 9, subsection 2 of the 1999 Constitution for their passage into law. 1. Constitution 4th Alteration Bill number 2, authorization of expenditure in absence of appropriation. Yes, 28 states. No, 6 states. Abstain, 1 state. Constitutional 4th Alteration Bill number 4, financial autonomy of state legislatures. Yes, 33 states. No, 1 state. Abstain, 1 state. Number 3, Constitutional 4th Alteration Bill number 8, the legislature. Yes, 34 states. No, 1 state. Number 4, Constitutional 4th Amendment Bill number 9, political parties and electoral matters. Yes, 32 states. No, 1 state. Abstain, 2 states. Number 5, Constitutional 4th Alteration Bill number 15, the Nigeria Police Force. Yes, 34 states. No, 1 state. Number 6, Constitutional 4th Amendment Bill number 16, restriction of tenure of president and governor. Yes, 32 states. No, 2 states. 1 state. Abstain. 7, Constitutional 4th Alteration Bill number 20, submission from the judiciary. Yes, 29 states. No, 2 states. Abstain, 4 states. Number 8, Constitutional 4th Alteration Bill number 21, determination of pre-election matters. Yes, 33 states. Abstain, 2 states. Number 9, Constitutional 4th Amendment Bill number 22, consequential amendment on civil defense. Yes, 27 states. No, 1 state. Abstain, 7 states. Number 10, Constitutional 4th Alteration Bill number 24, procedure for overriding presidential veto in constitutional alteration. Yes, 24 states. No, 8 states. Abstain, 3 states. Number 11, Constitutional 4th Alteration Bill number 27, reduction of age for election. Yes, 33 states. Abstain, 2 states. 12, Constitutional 4th Alteration Bill number 28, timeline for the presentation of appropriation bills. Yes, 27 states. No, 6 states. Abstain, 2 states. The House resolves to adopt the returns of the State Houses of Assembly on the Constitutional Alteration Bills 2018, having met the requirements of the provisions of Section 9 of the 1999 Constitution and processed in line with the Act's Authentication Act, and be transmitted to the President for his assent. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, I so moved.
Honorable Adodogwa, second the motion. Chief Whip.
Mr. Speaker, honorable members, Honorable Adodogwa is my name, and I rise to second the motion ably moved by the Leader of the House as directed by the Speaker. Zachary, please keep quiet.
Those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. If Ado could rewind that moment, which is a very great moment, if you asked to second the motion on the alteration of the Constitution, you should have felt privileged to have done that. I want to use this moment to thank honorable colleagues for one of the very few moments in the history of legislature in Nigeria for us to have succeeded in concluding, at least in nurturing some parts of the Constitution within a record time of 2 years. And with what we have done today, we expect in the next 1 month to receive a return from Mr. President on this alteration, and they will stand to become part of the Constitution. So we thank all of you from the leadership, and we are proud of all of you. And I want to put on record too, like the leader said, yes, during the course of carrying out this exercise, the governor of Lagos State actually hosted us, and he did very fantastically well. And through the leader of the house, we want to send, yes, by hosting us in Lagos for a 3-day retreat that was well paid for. Yes. So through the leader of the house, just deliver a message to the governor of Lagos State that we thank him very well, and it's going to be a pointer to other states in future to see that whatever part you are able to take in making sure that Nigeria moves forward will be a part that will be acknowledged. Thank you very much. Honorable colleagues, the second business of the day is presentation of report of the Committee on Works on a bill for an act to amend the Engineers Registration etc. Act Chapter E11, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, to introduce new register for engineering firms, including engineering personnel, broadening the power of the council and its registrar, and the recognition of other professional bodies outside the Nigerian Society of Engineers to nominate representatives to the council, among others, and for related matters 2018, standing in the name of Honorable Toby Okechukwu. Honorable members will recall that the bill was referred to the committee on Thursday, 1st November 2017. The report is ready for presentation. Honorable Okechukwu is invited to present the report.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues. My name is Toby Okechukwu. I represent an area of Wojiri Federal Constituency from Enugu State. Mr. Speaker, I do move that the House do receive the report of the Committee on Works on a bill for an act to amend the Engineers Registration Council Act, Cap E11, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, to introduce new register for engineering firms, include engineering personnel, broaden the power of the council and this registrar, and the recognition of other professional bodies outside the Nigerian Society of Engineers to nominate representatives to the council, amongst others, and other related matters. I do move.
Engineer Farouk, second the amendment.
Mr. Speaker, sir, honorable colleagues, I'm Honorable Engineer Abdullah Omar Farouk, representing Birning Chemical from the Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, I rise to second the motion ably moved by the chairman of the Committee on Works, Honorable Tony. I so second.
Those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Honorable Toby Okechukwu, please lay the report. Honorable colleagues, the first order of the day is commencement of debate on the general principle of a bill for an act to repeal the Nigeria Industrial Development Bank Guarantee Act, Chapter N111, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, and for related matters, standing in the name of Honorable Jose Ferdinand Nwako. Honorable members will recall that the bill was read the first time on Thursday, 28 September 2017. I now invite Honorable Nwako to move that the bill be now read a second time. Chairman rules.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My speaker has a problem. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I am Honorable Ferdinand Wanko, and I represent the good people of Njikoka and Ocha, Dunukofia Federal Constituency, and I'm from Anambra State. Speaker, I rise to move a bill for an act to repeal the Nigeria Industrial Development Bank Guarantee Act, Cap N111, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, and for related matters. To read the second time. I so move my speaker.
Any seconder? Honorable Pondi.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker, honorable colleagues. My name is Julius Babudo Pondi. I represent the full of the Federal Constituency, Mr. Speaker. I'm from Delta State. I rise to second the motion ably moved by Honorable Dozie. I so second, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Wako, lead the debate.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and my honorable colleagues. Once again, I am Honorable Ferdinand Dozie Wanko. I represent the good people of Njikoka and Ocha, Dunukofia Federal Constituency, and I'm from Anambra State. Mr. Speaker, the Nigeria Industrial Development Bank Guarantee Act was enacted into law since 1966, Section 1, and Section 2 in 1970, more than 50 years ago. Mr. Speaker, the law was enacted simply giving powers to Mr. President to guarantee foreign loans up to $6 million to $10 million. Mr. Speaker and honorable colleagues, the bank is no more in existence. The NIDBA bank is no more in existence and is obsolete, and the Bank of Industry have taken over the functions of this state bank. And Mr. Speaker, the second reason why this act needs to be repealed is that it's conflicting with the Borrowing by Public Bodies Act, Laws of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, which also vested the powers to guarantee foreign loan to the Honorable Finance Minister of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Mr. Speaker and my honorable colleagues, this law is very, very obsolete. Allowing the law to remain in our status book is something that will not give way to the new realities on ground. Mr. Speaker and honorable colleagues, it is very, very important that we do away with this law in our statute book, because earlier, before the first law, they have given the finance minister the powers to guarantee foreign loan. Is in conflict with the law that they gave to the Mr. President. Mr. Speaker and honorable colleagues, it is time for us to remove this obsolete law from our law book, and I urge my colleagues to support it so that it can go for the second reading. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
you, Honorable Wako. Any other contributor? Those in favor of the motion that the bill be now read a second time, say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Clerk is invited to read the long title of the bill.
Honorable Speaker, honorable members, a bill for an act to repeal the Nigeria Industrial Bank Guarantee Act, Chapter N111, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, and for related matters. Second reading.
Bill referred to the Committee on Banking and Currency. Honorable colleagues, Honorable Chika, please don't bag the chair. Sergius, Collins, Gaza. Honorable colleagues, the second order of the day is commencement of debate on the general principle of a bill for now to establish critical national assets. An infrastructure center to be scheduled with the responsibility of identification, prioritizing, coordinating, and policy development for protection of infrastructure and for related matters. Standing in the name of Honorable Aminu Sani Jaji, honorable members will recall that the bill was read the first time on Tuesday, 24 October 2017. I now invite Honorable Jaji to move that the bill be now read a second time. Honorable Jaji.
Thank you, honorable Speaker, honorable colleagues. I rise. I'm Honorable Aminu Sani Jaji, representing Honorable Namoda and Honorable Magaji for the constituency and program process. I rise to move for a bill for an act to establish critical national asset and infrastructure centers to be saddled with the responsibility of identification, prioritizing, coordinating, and policy development for protection of infrastructure and for the related matter that was for second reading.
Any seconder? Yes, Honorable Jega.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, my honorable colleagues. I'm Muhammad Umar Jega, representing Aleru Gondu Jega Federal Constituency. I rise to second the motion, ably moved by my honorable colleagues. I so second.
Honorable Jaji, lead the debate.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, honorable colleagues. I remain Honorable Aminu Sani Jaji, representing Honorable Namoda, Honorable Magaji from Constituency, Mr. Speaker, from Zamfara State. Mr. Speaker, going by the... Mr. Speaker, am I protected? My mic is not working. My mic is not working. That is why I decided to come here so that I can use it.
You are protected. Please go on with the debate.
Mr. Speaker, here is a bill seeking for the establishment of the critical national asset and infrastructure center development in Nigeria. Mr. Speaker, as we know that Nigeria is blessed with vast human and natural resources, prior to the discovery of oil in Nigeria was an agricultural-based economy. Going by that, we know that the discovery of the oil boosted the economy and increased central allocation for the various tiers of government, which facilitated the development in both urban and rural areas. But however, Honorable Speaker, honorable colleagues, we know that there are a lot of issues in our national security, national assets. That is why there is a lot of agencies that are claiming to be the custodian of managing all these national assets and infrastructure. And going by the way the vandalization of most of the pipelines, as well as some other critical assets, that most of the agencies, they were misutilizing the way and manner they're supposed to handle it. And if we go by the numerous infrastructure facilities across the country are misutilized through vandalization, theft, or dislocation as currently happening in Niger Delta and some other part of the country. And Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, there was a time my committee and some other members of the committee, we go for oversight in Lagos and also here in Abuja, where we discover that it's a gigantic project which is meant to cater for this, all these coastal areas. But because of the, some of the agencies are claiming to be in charge or responsible of such project, this project are lying down. So, Mr. Speaker, I would like to, maybe by way of making response, because the rate of vandalization of critical assets in Nigeria, such as five lines and some others, including some facilities, is getting worse. Therefore, this bill, it has objectives, which is to establish the critical national asset and infrastructure center in Nigeria, which to facilitate policy development for the protection of critical national infrastructure, to facilitate interagency coordination for protection and other critical national infrastructure. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, this bill, it has the analysis of the bill. It has about 18 clauses, which is divided into about 5 parts. The part 1, that the center will define powers of the National Security Advisor as the coordinating authority in piloting affairs of the center. Part 2 and part 3, that establishment of department of the center, the set office and its functions, management and other committees of the center. Then the bill has made a lot of provision for the appointment of directors, general secretary and staff of the center. Part 4 of the bill centers the application of the management of the court and the power to borrow money. Part 5, which is the last part, is made provision for procedure and the limitation of suit against the center service process in the minute of members and acquisition of property and regulation. Honorable colleagues, I would like to see the light of this bill, at least to support it so that we can make progress in the way and manner that our national security assets are being maintained or utilized. Thank you, Honorable Speaker, once again.
Thank you very much. I will allow Honorable Dr. Ujam to contribute, then we'll put the question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honorable colleagues, I'm Honorable Dr. Chukwuemeka Ujam. I represent the good people of Nkanu East and Nkanu West Federal Constituency. I'm from Enugu State. Mr. Speaker, I listened curiously to the mover of this bill. Out of solidarity, I would support the bill, but we have not got the hindsight of seeing the actual document itself. And that then leads to me to ask these questions to my honorable colleague. Has it taken into consideration elements of the critical national infrastructure bill that's either in place, and whether elements of, for instance, telecommunication equipment have been labeled as elements of critical national infrastructure? If the honorable colleague could please either answer or do supply that information to our office so that we do understand exactly what this council will be doing. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Okay, thank you very much. You will collaborate with the chairman of internal security, and that will be done too at the public hearing. So the question now is that the bill be read a second time. Honorable Abunta.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I remain Uzoman Kim Abunta. Mr. Speaker, I'll be contributing to the debate on the bill, and I want to make good to appreciate the effort of Honorable Sani Jaji in crafting the bill. I also want to say that I've listened to him attentively. I'm yet to see the ills the bill seeks to cure. Mr. Speaker, we have infrastructure regulatory agency in existence. Mr. Speaker, look at the bill. It says they establish critical national assets and infrastructure center. Went further to say to be saddled with the responsibility of identification, prioritizing, coordinating, and policy development. I'm rather being confused than conforming. Reasons being, what do we call critical national assets? To my mind, the first critical national assets includes the oil installations. What then will an NPC and Co be doing? Are we not going to do duplication? Yes, the foremost critical national assets in Nigeria today is oil installations. What will be the function of an NPC and all what not? We cannot say that power sector of whatever belongs to government could be the critical assets in terms of power and energy. What will be electricity regulatory agency and all will be doing? Infrastructure, are we going to talk about roads? That's also critical. FEMA and Co, what will they be doing? Then infrastructure regulatory agency, what will be their functions? The essence of bill, to my mind, we identify a lacuna, ill. Then you bring bills and acts to cure, to remedy what could be the situation. I've listened to him. I was not confirmed that I didn't see a compendium as required by our rules, so that I can understand the in-depth. I would just advise that for more legislative work to be done, that he step down the bill and we look at the issues and have some identifications. Because if you look at the bill and the body of it, you will see that there are other agencies and bodies saddled with responsibility doing the same and all whatnot. Are we not going to repeal those bills or take away some section from them before we do this? You see, if we pass this bill, that means we need to repeal some certain other bills in other areas to be able to give it enablement. Therefore, in recognition of his efforts, his legislative efforts, I will appeal that the bill be stepped down for further legislative work that will do the proper work. I so request, Mr. Speaker.
Chairman, Rules and Business, this one concerns you. Members are of the opinion, at least the two members that have contributed outside the sponsor himself, are of the opinion that there are other relevant laws that have to be juxtaposed with this bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Okay, Jeff, I represent the good people of Buruku, my dear colleagues. I'm from Benue State. Mr. Speaker, I don't claim to have all the laws of the land in my head. With what has been raised, I think we advise that the issue be stepped down and referred so that we'll take a look at the laws that they are suggesting before taking the appropriate step. Thank you.
Jaji.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I think maybe in line with the contribution from other honorable colleagues, I would like to step down so that we can go back and withdraw in a designed way and manner so I would like to step it down.
Thank you very much, Honorable Jaji. Bill stepped down by the leave of the House. Honorable colleagues, the third order of the day is commencement of debate on the general principle of a bill for an act to amend the provisions of the Electoral Act number 6, 2010 to further improve the electoral process and for related matters, standing in the name of Honorable Aisha Jibril Duku. Honorable members will recall that the bill was read the first time on Tuesday, 17 April 2018. I'll now invite Honorable Duku to move that the bill be now read a second time. Chairman, Rules and Business.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's obvious, Mr. Speaker, that the... Oh. Okay, thank you. Mr. Speaker, I was saying that Honorable Duku, the lead sponsor of this bill, is not available on the floor to move it. I therefore rise to move that we step it down.
Bill stepped down by the leave of the House. Honorable colleagues, the fourth order of the day is commencement of debate on the general principle of a bill for an act to amend the provisions of the Electoral Act number 6, 2010 to make provisions for sequence of election in Nigeria and for related matters, standing in the name of Honorable Edward Giam Pajok. Honorable members will recall that the bill was read the first time on Tuesday, 17 April 2018. I now invite Honorable Pajok to move that the bill be now read a second time.
Mr. Speaker, is Pajok and 7 others, please, as stated on the order papers?
Yes,
Pajok and 7 others. It should be taken on record.
Chief Whip, you are going beyond your bound. Honorable Pajok moved your motion.
Point of order, Mr. Speaker.
You can't move for a point of order on the statement of the presiding officer. I don't say aha. Somebody has to be saying something on the floor. A colleague must be saying something on the floor based on that, because I'm not part of your debate.
Please.
I'm not part of your debate.
Please be guided, please.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, honorable colleagues. Mr. Speaker, my name is Honorable Edward Gyang Pojok. I represent the South, the East of Plateau State. Mr. Speaker, I have consulted with members on this very, very important and sensitive bill, and I must say that I am of the opinion, after consulting very, very widely, that this bill is...
Move.
No, he cannot move. Leader, I will not give you the floor because, no, there's nothing like privilege about this. The procedure, let him finish. Leader, please take your seat. Leader, please take your seat.
No, why are we behaving this way?
There is nothing you want to move point of order on. Let him finish his speech.
Honorable members, please.
So, Pajok, please.
Move.
Order, please, honorable members.
Let him move it.
I said, I am stepping down the bill, sir.
Pajok, order.
Move it.
Bill stepped down by the leave of the house.
No.
Honorable Jobe, please take your seat. You can take your standing rule and tell me the appropriate portion you want us to apply in the procedure of the house. I'm ready to do that for you.
Honorable John Bull, please take your seat. Honorable Ogaga.
Honorable colleagues.
It's not the right thing.
Honorable Hassan Saleh, Honorable Zakari Galadima.
Let us,
Honorable Hassan Saleh, Honorable Zakari Galadima, please resume your seat.
Let us remind ourselves.
Ogaga, please sit down properly.
Honorable colleagues, let us remind ourselves that the mover of a motion or a sponsor of a bill has the right, upon the reading by the presiding officer, to step down. He is first of all and the most important person who has the right to take the first step. Honorable Pajok has taken the step and he says he's stepping down. So if there is anything that is untoward about the bill, we can now, within our powers, instruct the chairman rules and business and his committee to make sure that that bill is no longer listed. That is the rule of the house.
Mr. Speaker.
So he has the first right of refusal, and even when you must have contributed before a question is taken, he even has a right of reply. So the mover of a motion and the sponsor of a bill, first and foremost, has the first right. And they exercise that right by stepping down the motion. So the power of the house is now to instruct the chairman rules and business, including the committee, to make sure that that bill is no longer listed. It's as simple as that.
Mr. Speaker.
Leader of the house.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I'm not in contention on whether we step down or not. And that's why I was raising my hand up earlier. It was on a matter of privilege, a matter that is personal to me. And it is that the issue of the bill, I saw the bill for the first time as I was sitting here. And it had my name as a co-sponsor. So when you say Honorable Pajok and 7 others, no, I'm saying when it says on the other paper and 7 others, it includes me because my name is there. I don't know anything about that bill. So I think it's important that that's why I wanted to bring that up before it is stepped down, so that it will be on record because you cannot ascribe something to someone. And so I would like for the secretariat, for the clerk, to strike my name out of the 7 others.
Order, please. Order. Honorable members, silence, please.
Honorable colleagues, please.
Please, silence,
The leader has taken his rightful position by citing order on privilege, which he has a right to. And the secretariat has been duly notified on the fact that you are not aware of the listing of your name. So that is in order too.
Mr. Speaker, this bill is technically killed. Technically killed.
I don't know why you are taking over the house. You are the whip of the house, not the presiding officer.
As the chair pleases. As the chair pleases.
Honorable colleagues, the 6th order of the day is a motion on need to reconstruct Ulako Imerienwe Osusu Eche Road, standing in the name of Honorable Bede Eke. Honorable Eke is invited to move the motion. Honorable Eke. Sorry. The 5th order of the day is commencement of debate on the general principle of a bill for an act to establish the Council for the Regulation of Travel Agents in Nigeria, provide for the registration of persons who by way of business negotiate for or otherwise act in relation to selling of travel services on behalf of transport carriers, to facilitate carriage by air, rail or road of passengers, and for the control, regulation and orderly development of passenger travel distribution in Nigeria and for related matters. Standing in the name of Honorable Nkiruka Oyechoka, honorable members will recall that the bill was read the first time on Thursday, 8 February 2018. I now invite Honorable Oyechoka to move that the bill be now read the second time. Chairman, Rules and Business.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honorable Nkiruka is not available to move this item. I therefore move that item number 5 on the order paper be stepped down. I so move.
Bill stepped down by the leave of the House. Honorable colleagues, the 6th order of the day is a motion on need to reconstruct Ulako Imerienwe Osusu Eche Road, standing in the name of Honorable Bede Eke. Honorable Eke is invited to move the motion.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker, distinguished colleagues. My name is Honorable Bede Uchenna Eke. I represent the good people of Abombise, Ngobala Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, I rise to move the motion for the need to reconstruct the Olakwo Imerium Ozuzu Eche Road. The House notes that Olakwo Imerium Ozuzu Eche Road is a federal road connecting Imo State to rivers and other states. The House also notes that due to the deplorable condition of the road, the indigenes of Imo State and residents in those areas have been cut off from both the state capital and neighboring states. Dismayed that the deplorable condition of the road is one of many reasons for accidents and proliferation of criminal activities in those areas, and has consequently stalled economic activities in the affected communities. Cognizant of the need for the federal government to reconstruct the road to enhance commercial activities as well as security of lives and properties in the eastern and southern parts of the country, the House resolves to urge the Niger Delta Development Commission, NDDC, to commence reconstruction of the Olakwo Imerienwe Ozuzu Eche Road and ensure that money is provided for this project in the NDDC 2018 budget estimates. 2, the House also mandates the Committee on Legislative Compliance to ensure compliance of this motion. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
Any seconder? Honorable Shuaib.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, my dear honorable colleagues. My name is Abdurrahman Shuaib. I represent Movie North, Movie South, and Maiha Federal Constituency. I'm from Adamawa State. I rise, Mr. Speaker, to second this very important motion, ably moved by Mr. Honorable Bede Eke. I so second.
It's an infrastructure-related motion, so I therefore go ahead and put the question. Those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. The 7th order of the day is a motion on need to review the ban and restriction on motorcycle operators within the Federal Capital City, standing in the name of Honorable Frederick Agbedi. Honorable Agbedi is invited to move the motion. Chairman, Rules and Business.
Mr. Speaker, it's obvious that Honorable Freddy Agbedi is no longer on the floor. I therefore move that item number 7 on the order paper be stepped down.
Motion stepped down by the leave of the House. Honorable colleagues, the 8th order of the day is a motion on need to stop the illegal mining activities that polluted Uke Kashi River in Karu local government area of Nasarawa State. Standing in the name of Honorable Gaza Jonathan Bevi. Honorable Bevi is invited to move the motion.
Right, Honorable Speaker, Honorable colleagues, my name is Gaza Jonathan Bevi, and I represent the people of Karu KP Kokona Federal Constituency of Nasarawa State. I rise to move a motion on the need to stop the illegal mining activities that polluted Uke Kashi River in Karu local government area of Nasarawa State. The House notes that the natural resources and the environment at large, especially rivers, are meant for enjoyment of all citizenry within the vicinity. The House also notes that the pollution of all kinds is prohibited under the law, and this has led to the establishment of the National Environmental Standard and Regulatory Enforcement Agency, the NESRA Act of 2007. The House is worried that due to mining activities around the Uke Kashi River, the river that hitherto served as a source of drinking water irrigation and contained aquatic life has become polluted by waste from illegal mining activities. The House is further worried that the pollution has led to the death of aquatic life in the river, which, if not checked, would have an effect on the ecosystem as well as the people in the area who suffer from acute shortage of water and can no longer have access to water to the river as an alternate source of water, I beg your pardon. The House therefore resolves to mandate the Committee on Environmental and Habitat to liaise with NESRA in line with the statutory duties of NESRA to end the pollution of the Uke Kashi River, and secondly, also mandate the Committee on Solid Minerals to liaise with the Ministry of Minerals and Steel Development to verify the status of the miners, and if found to be mining illegally, they should be apprehended and the necessary punitive action be taken against them and report back to the House within 8 weeks for further legislative action. I so move.
Deputy Minority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm Chukwuka Onyema. I represent Obaru Federal Constituency of Anambra State. I rise to second this very good motion that will save the people, my brothers, my Gwari brothers, especially Bagi, not Gwari. Yes. My Bagi brothers, especially the minority whip, who is a Bagi man.
Yes.
So I rise to second this motion. I so second, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much.
Honorable Gaza, in 2 minutes.
Right, Honorable Speaker, may I first start by appreciating the unity that this House enjoys, especially with the kind words of the Deputy Minority Leader. Hitherto, this debate needs not to be debated too much because it's very straightforward. A river that served as a major source of drinking water, a major source of livelihood to my people is under threat because of illegal mining activities within that area. Equally noting that Nasarawa State, equally known as the home of solid minerals, enjoys a lot of mineral resources. But these activities are not being checked, and this has led to exploitation of these mineral resources, and due to the crude methods that are used to mine these things, the byproducts, which are very toxic in nature, are being washed back into the river. A river that before now was quite clear, crystal clear, you could see through it, now is brown. It has led to acute shortage of water supply, especially to the Karishi and Tuduwada areas, whom enjoyed using this river as an alternative source of water supply. And also aquatic life. The other day I was actually going by the riverbank and I saw a fish that had actually dried up on the riverbank because obviously it had been poisoned by these toxic byproducts of these mining activities. I thereby wish to call on the House to take it as a matter of priority and mandate to observe these prayers and pass a resolution that the necessary actions be taken to stop this menace. Thank you. I so move, right?
Yes, this is a very good motion, and it's going to be properly referred to the appropriate committees. The question now is, those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. The ninth order of the day is consideration of report of the Committee on Capital Market and Institutions on need to intervene in the conflict between the Minister of Finance and the suspended Director General Securities and Exchange Commission. Honorable members will recall that the report was laid on Thursday, 29 March 2018. And I invite Honorable Yusuf Ayo Tajuddin to move for its consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, my dear colleagues. I move that the House do consider the report of the Committee on Capital Market and Institution on the need to intervene in the conflict between the Minister of Finance and the suspended DG of Security and Exchange Commission and approve the recommendations therein. Mr. Speaker, I so move.
Any seconder? Honorable Magaji.
Honorable Speaker, honorable colleagues, I hereby raise to second the motion assembly moved by my dear colleague, Honorable TJ Yusuf. I so second.
Those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. The 10th order of the day is consideration of 4 reports of the Committee on Public Petition. Honorable Zoma Inkem Abonta will move for their consideration. Honorable Abonta, please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I remain Zoma Inkem Abonta. Mr. Speaker, do I move that the House do consider the reports on public petition as contained back in item 10, 11, 12, and 13, Mr. Speaker, I so move.
Any seconder? Honorable Ogbaga.
Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, my name is Honorable Sylvester Ogbaga, I represent Abakaliki Zifera constituency. I'm from Ebonyi State. I stand to second the motion, ably moved by Honorable Abonta. I so second.
Those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Leader.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, I rise to move that this House dissolve to the Committee of Whole for consideration of reports. I so move.
Empty.
Honorable Speaker, honorable members, I hereby second the motion that the House do dissolve to a Committee of the Whole to consider report.
Those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. House hereby resolves into Committee of the Whole to consider report. Honorable colleagues, the first report to be considered is that of the House Committee on Capital Markets and Institutions on an investigation in the conflict between the Minister of Finance and suspended Director General Securities and Exchange Commission, House Resolution 190/2017. And I invite the Chairman House Committee on Capital Market and Institutions to speak to the report. Very briefly, this place is becoming hot.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, my dear colleagues. We all recall that the press was awash when this suspension happened, and a colleague on the floor here moved a motion on the 30th of November for the need for the House to intervene. The investigative hearing was conducted on the 30th of January 2018, and the relevant stakeholders were invited. Mr. Chairman, my dear colleagues, we went through the specific item that we were asked to look to was the suspension, the legality, or what about the suspension. However, in the course of going through the issue, we discovered that there are other issues we should look into, but we do not have the mandate of the House to do. So we try to restrict ourselves to the legality of the suspension and otherwise. Mr. Speaker, the Minister of Finance came and articulated her position based on petition she claimed she received from some concerned stakeholders that itemize the alleged offenses of the DG. And she caused a letter to be written to the DG query, and the DG responded. According to her, it was found that her response does not tally with the reality of information at their disposal. One, specifically, the outbound company that was alleged to be carried out contract, and with him as a director, the DG alleged that he had resigned from the directorship of that company 4 years before then. But we have before us at the hearing letter from the CAC still confirming his directorship of that company. And we as a committee to rule CAC directly without relying on the submission from the Ministry of Finance. We got the same report. Based on that and the combined position of the ISA and the Constitution, we concluded that in truth, there's need to investigate the allegation. However, we feel it should not be in perpetuity. The investigation should be concluded on time. My dear colleagues, the other issue we were asked to look into was the suspension of 2 staffs. By the ISA provision, the issue of staff at that level should not have gone to the ministry. It should have been a thing that the Security and Exchange Commission should handle themselves. By implication, we found that to be a bit of out of order, and we so recommend that they should be reinstated. Finally, we concluded that there is no way we can have seen as done the thorough job without looking into the recurring issue of Wandu PLC in the course of the investigation. So we sought back to add a recommendation that should give us the mandate of the House to look into that particular item. We had it, apart from what came up in the course of the hearing, we had petition from Wandu against SEC, we had petition from stakeholders against Wandu. So, Mr. Speaker, my dear colleagues, and Mr. Chairman, my dear colleagues, our resolutions are just about three. We sought to say four recommendations, Mr. Chair. We concluded that we could not fault the suspension of the DG. However, we fault the suspension of the 2 staffs, and we seek that the 2 staffs, if there are any area of infraction that is assumed to have been, committed, the Security and Exchange Commission should take proper disciplinary action against them, while we sought the leave of the House to do further investigation on the Wandu issue. Thank you, Mr. Chair, my dear colleagues.
And your mic. Thank you, Chairman. This report has 4 recommendations. The first recommendation is that based on the constitutional provision and other extant laws, as well as relevant provisions of the public service rules, cited and referred to, the suspension of Mr. Munir Guazo, the former Director General of Securities and Exchange Commission, by the Honorable Minister of Finance should stand. Carried. The second recommendation is that based on the petitions by various stakeholders of Owando, the committee agreed to conduct investigation of Owando PLC. Carried. Third, that based on the Public Service Rule and Securities and Exchange Commission Staff Manual, the 2 staff of Securities and Exchange Commission, Mrs. Anastasia O. Braimo and Mr. Nahif Abdusalam, should be recalled from suspension and report to duty immediately. Carried. 4, that the case of Mrs. Anastasia Braimo and Mr. Nahif Abdusalam should be referred to the management of the Securities and Exchange Commission for disciplinary action in accordance with the Securities and Exchange Commission Staff Manual. Carried. The next report to be considered is that of the House Committee on Public Petition on a report on a petition by Olumuyiwa Ogulami and Co. on behalf of Defino Antonio de Miranda and 3 other family members against the federal government and the Vice Chancellor of the University of Lagos on the refusal of the federal government to pay all the compensation on their land acquired for the establishment of the University of Lagos, Akoka, Lagos State. Joined in the petition include the Attorney General of the Federation, the Surveyor General of the Federation, and the Federal Ministry of Education. And I invite the Chairman of the Committee on Public Petition to speak to the report.
I'll be very remaining on my Bonton, Chairman. This is a petition by concerned persons and families against Lagos State University and joined all relevant parties who have brought this petition here for consideration, but the House, in its wisdom, asked us to redefine and place properly our recommendations, and we've returned it so by asking the all universities to vacate and desist from encroaching the areas of the land not acquired. Filed government notice number 244 dated 12 December 1962, published in the Federal Gazette number 105 volume 49 of 29 December 1992, that the federal government, Ministry of Education, Federal Ministry of Works, and Attorney General of the Federation should do the needful to determine the compensation payable to Delfino, Antonio Makanda, and 3 other family members, and that the last one, that the sum of 4 billion naira only, be provided in the 2018 budget for the purpose of compensation to Delfino, Antonio Makanda, and 3 others when determined. So resolved.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The report has 3 recommendations. The first recommendation that the House urged respondents, University of Lagos, to vacate and desist from encroaching on the area of land not acquired via government notice number 2444, dated 12th December 1962, published in Federal Gazette number 105, volume 49 of 29th December 1962. Carried. 2, that the Federal Ministry of Education, Federal Ministry of Works, and Office of the Attorney General of the Federation should do the needful to determine the compensation payable to the petitioner. Carried. Number 3, you can't use a report to write an appropriation. Yes, there is no comment about that. It will be deleted right away. It will be deleted right away. You cannot use a report to write an appropriation bill. So, the 3rd recommendation is deleted. The next report to be considered is still that of the House Committee on Public Petition. Honorable Fakaya TJ Yusuf. Africa. Carried. Mr. Chair, too.
You have jumped number 10.
It's a law now. You can't use a report because if we do it now, that means we have compelled the relevant agency of government to put the 4 billion naira in the 2018 budget. Honorable Abunta, please, no explanation. We still have your report. No explanation. That the legislative duty is that unless you can fault that.
Please, honorable members.
The next report to be considered.
Honorable Abunta, please be guided.
Is House Committee on Public Petition.
Honorable Abunta, please be guided by the chair.
On Ahmed Tijani Yusuf Esquire against Federal Road Safety Commission. And I invite the chairman House Committee on Public Petition to speak to the report.
Please.
I will never come back.
Please, Honorable Abunta, be guided.
Speak to the report.
Please. Mr. Chair, I'm afraid Abunta is really loyal. Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, sir. Chair.
He's right to be confused because number 10 has been jumped. So he doesn't know whether you are going back to 10 or number 12. Number 10 has been jumped.
Mr. Chairman. Chairman, sir.
The chairman rules and business that is supposed to be guiding the House
is
the one that is distracting and drawing us back. When you first raised it, I said recommendation 3 has been deleted.
I'm also afraid if Honorable Abunta is actually loyal here. I'm afraid.
No, you didn't do well.
So it's
Chairman rules and business. You are not the confusion is my people here. The next report to be considered is then still the House of Committee on Public Petition on the petition by Ordinary Dr. Ahmed Issa on behalf of Samuel David and 8 others against the chairman Suleja local government area of Niger State on the forceful demolition of houses belonging to original inhabitants of the old army barracks Suleja, Niger State. And I invite the chairman, House Committee on Public Petition, to briefly in 30 seconds speak to the report.
Thank you, Chairman. Amen. This petition was brought here, was considered here before, and the House asked us to place properly the remedy that should come to the persons, having discovered that the Suleja local government went on the foot of their own against all known laws to demolish and sack people, and we now agree to restore the displaced people back to their lands. 3, to plan the area, improve its sanitary conditions, and provide adequate infrastructure for the inhabitants. We so resolve the 2 recommendations, Mr. Chairman.
Chairman, the report has 3 recommendations. 1, restore the displaced people back to their land, carried. 2, plan the area and improve its sanitary conditions, carried. And 3, provide adequate infrastructure for the inhabitants, carried. The next report to be considered is still that of the House Committee on Public Petition by Ahmed Tijani Yusuf Esquire against the Federal Road Safety Commission. And I invite the Chairman, House Committee on Public Petition, to speak to the report.
Just somebody who wants to really put the law straight. The lawyer was harassed by road safety for towing his vehicle and whatnot, and the brought this petition, and the conclusion of it, we felt that road safety being constrained by some real issues, contracted out the business of towing vehicles to persons. We so resolved that since we do not give them enough money, but they should be guided by the extant law and regulations on procurement of and the internal should be very vigilant. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. This report has just one recommendation, that the Federal Road Safety Commission be guided by the extant laws and regulation on procurement and internally generated revenues. Carried. The last.
Yes, I don't know the meaning of this recommendation. It's too watery. How do you... No, but it's their recommendation. We are not supposed to alter what they wrote. So how do you, supposing you want to enforce this, how do you do it? It doesn't speak to any particular issue.
Read that recommendation directly from the other paper. I was wondering, but you prepared the other paper, so I don't know why it was in the other paper. I read the recommendation right from the other paper. You can, you are free.
Mr. Speaker, we don't have the right to, when a committee has done its job and prepared and made some recommendations, I can only come and make my opinion here on the floor, not alter it in the committee room. That is what has happened here. I have my opinion too.
What is your opinion? Before the chairman, before we refer, we will ask you and Professor Majid your opinion, then the chairman of the House Committee on Public Petition will say something.
I think a recommendation to speak to the findings of the facts and findings of that report. Here you are just saying they should be guided by the extant laws and regulation on procurement. I mean, this is too generic. I mean,
please, order. Order. Honorable Binta, can you sit down properly, please?
It appears that the committee is trying to use some, I don't know, I don't want to use abracadabra, to avoid hitting the FRSC directly. You made a recommendation that your findings show that someone paid into an account other than TSA. I was expecting that to be a concrete recommendation, and the House could ask them to go back and make, in fact, in court of law, you do it sometimes when they make a submission, say, go back and give us your decision, which the House can now work on. As of now, they are not giving us anything. All of us know that they are to be guided by external. So they should tell us what should we do about the 3,000 that the lawyer paid into a non-recognized account. So I don't think they have made any recommendation. And they should go back and advise the House properly. We can take this. Okay, we can take on that behalf.
Okay, thank you, sir. Before we allow the chairman, I will allow two other members, TJ Yusuf and Honorable Shuaib.
Mr. Chairman, sir, my dear colleagues, I think it is not out of order for us to propose amendment here, rather than say they should go back. I will propose that they should refund that money. The account should refund. I will propose that we should, then this recommendation can now become an additional recommendation that going forward, they should not commit such infractions again. But on this specific item, my suggestion is that we should say they should refund that money to the Confederation account.
Tribe, you will reply. Now you have right of.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think this offense is very serious, that we should go beyond just, that account should be investigated. It may not be only that 3,000 that have been paid into that account. There might be so many others that have paid into the same account. So they should be referred to the security agencies for further investigation and let them determine how much have been have been paid into this account, because it's very, very serious. Thank you.
Chairman, now you may call me.
Thank you. You see, at times when we labor without getting the facts, we may be working otherwise. Yes, road safety came and said, we don't have money, national give us no money to buy towing trucks. So they hired private companies, private persons to tow obstructed vehicles. And if they ask you to pay them, they can't get all the money to pay to the company. So they now contracted to persons. When they call company A and they tow your vehicle, you pay to company A's account. And then who said, how did you, excuse me, before you come, now ask them, how did you choose the companies that tow these vehicles? Are they not your own companies? Are you sure? So we now called, and when I finish you can talk, we now called even the towing companies themselves. How did you qualify? How did the procurement? Now we now ask them, please, for you to hire companies again, be mindful of procurement business before you can procure companies to tow vehicles. And they said, if they don't hire those companies, the vehicles will be littering all over the road. We start with them, and then they said, put money for us to even hire the equipment to do the needful. But we said, okay, be mindful of procurement activities. Concerning the internal generated funds, the argument is that they did not work for them, they merely used them to take away obstructions. So the issue now became for us, how do we settle it? Will those companies not earn their money? And they're saying, if you're not paying us directly, we're not going to tow. Because from previous experience, when they have worked for road safety will owe them for months, for years, and they're not coming. So they sat down and had an agreement, internal agreement with them, say, if we work for you, compel the man to pay us directly, or we won't work for you. So in that scenario, let the house now decide what to do. Thank you.
Our argument is morally persuasive, but legally very, very wrong. Very, very. Because it amounts to road safety, spending the money that's never appropriated by anybody. They are generating revenue, and at the same time, they are spending it. So I will, without belaboring the issues, I would like TJ Yusuf and Honorable Shuaib to propose those two additional recommendations. They are very desirable. So that, Abonta, we have listened to you. You have done very well. Very morally persuasive, but not correct. It's not correct. So, TJ Yusuf, what was your additional recommendation?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, my dear colleagues. I'm proposing that the specific amount that was paid into a different account should be returned to the federation account.
Any seconder? Yes. Let me
please, honorable members, please, silence, please. Please, honorable Abonta, silence.
I'm honorable. Let me just say on Friday. I stand to second the amendment.
Are you not the one who wrote the report?
Honorable TJ.
Is it not your?
Honorable Abonta, that particular recommendation is specifically referring to FRSC. They will look for money to pay for it. Those in favor of the recommendation say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Honorable Lawal.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman, honorable colleagues. I think if we allow this to continue, because other agencies, there are so many other revenue generating agencies in the country. So I'm moving that the Committee on Finance and that of Federal Road Safety should investigate this particular account and present the report to the House for further legislative action. I so move.
Yes, Rita Oji.
Member representing Nigeria Fellow of the Central Constituency and from Lagos State, Mr. Chairman, I rise to second the amendment ably moved by Honorable Shuaib. I so second.
Those in favor of the amendment say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. So that report essentially now has 3 recommendations. The last report for the day is still that of the House Committee on Public Petition on the report of the House on the petition by Sunday Williams against the Nigerian Police Force on the unjustified retirement from service. And I invite the Chairman of the House Committee on Public Petition to speak to the report.
It's a very simple one. We recommend that the Sunday Williams should go to the police office, meet the Commissioner of Police Welfare, and submit the necessary documents needed for him to be retired appropriately, and his pension and gratuity should be paid to him. When he petitioned, we called police, he's been away. They're looking for him to come. They can't go to his house to do documentation. He should present himself for documentation. So I don't know why to make it easier for him, we change it and amend the report to me that police can go to his house and document him and pay appropriately.
Thank you very much. Just one recommendation that Sunday Williams should go to his office, meet Commissioner of Police, Welfare, and submit the necessary document needed for him to be retired appropriately, and his pensions and gratuity paid to him. Approved? Empty.
Honorable Chairman, honorable members, I hereby move that the House do revert to plenary to report progress.
Chairman, rules and business.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I rise to second the motion ably moved by the acting leader of the House. I so second.
House hereby reverts back to plenary to report progress. Honorable colleagues, the House in the Committee of the Whole considered the report of the Committee on Capital Markets and Institutions on need to intervene in the conflict between the Minister of Finance and the suspended Director General, Securities and Exchange Commission, and approve the 4 recommendations therein. The House in the Committee of the Whole considered the report of the Committee on Public Petitions on petition by Ordinary President Dr. Ahmed Hissa on behalf of Sir Ahmed David and 8 others against the Chairman, Suleja Local Government Council of Niger State on the forceful demolition of houses belonging to original inhabitants of the old Army Barracks, Suleja, Niger State, and approved the 3 recommendations therein. The House in the Committee of the Whole considered the report of the Committee on Public Petitions on the petition by Olumuyiwa Ogolami and co. on behalf of Defino Antonia Mekanda and 3 other family members against the federal government and Vice Chancellor of University of Lagos on the refusal of the federal government to pay compensation on their land acquired for the establishment of the University of Lagos, Akoka, Lagos State. Also joined in the petition are the Attorney General of the Federation, the Surveyor General of the Federation, and the Federal Minister of Education, and approved the recommendations 1 and 2 and rejected recommendation 3. Therein, the House in the Committee of the Whole considered the report of the Committee on Public Petitions on the petition by Ahmed Tijani Yusuf Esquire against the Federal Road Safety Commission on fraudulent operation of private accounts, and approved recommendation 1 and new recommendation 2 and 3 of the report. The House in the Committee of the Whole considered the report of the Committee on Public Petitions on the petition by Sunday Williams against the Nigerian Police Force on unjustified retirement from service, and approved the only recommendation therein. Empty.
Honorable Speaker, honorable members, I hereby move that the House do adopt the report of the Committee of the Whole.
Chairman, rules and business.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to second the motion as moved by the acting leader of the House. I so second.
Those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Empty.
Honorable Speaker, honorable members, I hereby move that the House do adjourn tomorrow, Thursday, by 11 a.m. I so move.
Chairman, rules.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to second the motion for adjournment as moved by the acting leader of the House. I so second.
The House stands adjourned till tomorrow, Thursday, April 19, 2018, 11 a.m.